Did you know that fixing your blood sugar is absolutely not about starving yourself or completely cutting out carbohydrates? In fact, the fastest and most sustainable way to restore your metabolic health is not the brutal elimination of entire food groups, but adding the right functional foods to your daily regimen. We see this in our practice all the time. Hundreds of our clients have fundamentally transformed their numbers in just a few weeks simply by implementing this system. And we are not talking about a temporary fix. They continue to keep their sugars low and stable without relying on increasing medication doses for months and even years. In this video, I am going to show you step by step how to use 10 specific foods to fully rewrite your internal biochemistry and reverse insulin resistance at the cellular level. We will make sure your blood sugar comes down quickly, naturally, and safely. Before we get into the very first food, do me a quick favor. If you want more videos that explain the why behind your body's signals, instead of just handing you a pill to cover up the symptoms, hit subscribe, give this video a like, and leave a comment below. What was your morning fasting blood sugar number this week? I read your comments carefully, and the unique age and numbers of this audience truly shape what topics we cover next. Now, let's be completely honest about what almost no one has the time to explain to you during a standard 12-minute doctor's appointment. High blood sugar almost never happens in a vacuum. It is the final result of a long chain of events that starts upstream with a hormone called insulin. Let's use a simple analogy. Think of your cells as houses, and insulin as a delivery driver carrying a package of energy, which is the glucose in your blood. Insulin's job is to walk up to the door, turn the key in the lock, open up the cell, and let the sugar inside where it belongs. But when you spend years riding the blood sugar roller coaster due to processed snacks and rapid spikes, your cells simply get tired of the constant knocking. They essentially block their ears and stop responding. The insulin knocks and turns the handle, but the door remains shut. In the wellness world, we call this insulin resistance. What does your body do next? Your pancreas, trying to save the day, begins pumping out even more insulin. The streets of your bloodstream get crowded with delivery drivers, but the doors to the houses remain firmly locked. Your blood sugar climbs anyway. And what is the standard response of the system? You are handed a prescription that artificially forces your exhausted pancreas to squeeze out even more insulin. It is the metabolic equivalent of pouring gasoline on a fire. The medical-industrial complex is economically designed around you staying chronically managed, not completely well. There is no personal malice in this, it is just raw economics. On a short office visit, there is physically no time to teach you how everyday food talks directly to your insulin receptors. In our project, this is exactly what we specialize in. Every single one of the 10 foods we are about to break down handles one of 3 vital tasks. It mechanically slows down the entry of sugar into your bloodstream. It cools off the low-grade systemic inflammation that keeps your cells deaf to internal signals. It literally lubricates and wakes up the rusted lock of the receptor so your body can do the work it was designed to do. You do not have to buy all 10 of these tomorrow morning. Introduce them gradually and stack them over the next 2 to 3 weeks. Let's look at the first tool. 1. Fenugreek seeds. These are small, hard, amber-colored seeds that you can find in the spice aisle of almost any grocery store for a couple of dollars. If you pass them by just because the name sounds a bit exotic, you are walking past one of the most powerful metabolic tools on the shelf. Inside these seeds lies a unique soluble fiber called galactomannan. When fenugreek hits the water in your stomach, this fiber instantly swells into a thick, dense gel. This gel physically coats the lining of your stomach and intestines, slowing down the absorption of carbohydrates. Sugar doesn't flood your bloodstream like a tidal wave. It trickles in steadily. No flood means no massive spike and no panic dump of insulin from your pancreas. On top of that, fenugreek carries a specific amino acid that encourages your muscle cells to take up glucose more efficiently. How to use it? Take 1 teaspoon of whole seeds, pour a glass of room temperature water over them, and leave them overnight. In the morning, drink the water and thoroughly chew and eat the softened seeds before breakfast. If the slightly bitter taste is too much for you, grind the dry seeds in a coffee grinder and stir half a teaspoon into unsweetened yogurt or sprinkle it over your morning eggs. Start low. This fiber is potent, and your gut needs a few days to adapt. 2. Ceylon cinnamon. You almost certainly already have this spice in your cupboard, but the devil is in the details. Most people buy the wrong kind. Common supermarket cinnamon is cassia, which carries a compound called coumarin. In large daily doses, coumarin is toxic to the liver. The variety you want is Ceylon cinnamon, often labeled as Ceylon cinnamon or true cinnamon. It has a milder, sweeter aroma, a softer texture, and is perfectly safe for daily use. The magic of Ceylon cinnamon lies in its polyphenols. These are natural plant compounds that behave almost like native insulin inside us. They help the receptors on the surface of your cells grip glucose molecules more tightly. Research from the USDA Human Nutrition Program proved that under half a teaspoon of true cinnamon a day meaningfully lowers fasting glucose in adults with type 2 diabetes. How to use it? Add 1/4 to a half teaspoon of Ceylon cinnamon to your morning coffee, chicory, oatmeal, or a healthy smoothie. The key trick? Pair it specifically with a meal that contains carbohydrates. That is exactly when you want your digestion to slow down and your cellular doors to open up. 3. Broccoli sprouts. Pay close attention here because this is the most underutilized and critically important food in this entire video. I am not talking about mature heads of broccoli, but the tiny 3-day-old sprouts. If you miss this distinction, you miss 90% of the therapeutic benefit. These little greens are packed with a compound called sulforaphane. In fact, the sprouts contain 50 to 100 times more of it than a massive mature vegetable. Sulforaphane handles a unique task. It goes straight to your liver and quiets down the overnight glucose factory. Your liver produces sugar while you sleep. In insulin resistance, this process spins out of control, which is why so many of you wake up with a high fasting number that cannot be explained by your evening meal. A study from Lund University in Sweden confirmed that concentrated sulforaphane brought fasting blood sugar down effectively, showing the strongest results in people whose numbers were the hardest to control. How to use it? You can easily grow them on your counter in a glass jar for pennies, or buy them ready to eat. A small handful, about 1/4 cup, a day in a salad or on a whole grain sandwich is plenty. Remember, do not cook them. High heat completely destroys the active enzyme. Eat them raw or barely wilted. 4. Avocado. Many people are still afraid of avocados because they associate them with high calories and fat. That fear is costing them their health. The fat in an avocado is monounsaturated fat, the exact same family as premium olive oil. It is one of the most blood sugar-friendly foods on the planet. The reason is simple. The combination of these healthy fats and plant fiber acts as a natural brake for your digestion. When you add half an avocado to a plate of brown rice or a slice of whole grain toast, you are not removing the carbohydrates. You are putting a firm barrier on how fast they turn into blood sugar. Glucose climbs gently instead of spiking. Monounsaturated fats also restore the flexibility of your cell membranes, helping those locked cellular doors open faster. Plus, avocado keeps you full, turning off the urge to snack an hour later. How to use it? Half an avocado a day is the ideal target. Slice it alongside your morning eggs, mash it onto toast with a squeeze of lemon juice, or toss it into a salad. 5. Chia seeds. These tiny gray and black seeds punch far abuse their size. If you have ever soaked chia seeds in liquid and watched them turn into a thick pudding, you already understand exactly how they work inside your digestive tract. Chia is an absolute champion when it comes to soluble fiber. In your stomach, it forms a thick gel matrix that wraps around the carbohydrates in your meal, slowing down their absorption to a crawl. You avoid both the sharp sugar spike and the crash that follows it, the crash that usually leaves you feeling shaky, exhausted, and starving an hour later. Chia also provides plant-based omega-3 fats, which help calm the low-grade inflammation sitting underneath insulin resistance. How to use it? 1 to 2 tablespoons a day. Stir them into yogurt, add them to a glass of water with lemon, or blend them into a smoothie. Always give them 10 to 15 minutes to fully gel before consuming, and drink plenty of water throughout the day because all that fiber needs liquid to move properly. 6. Fatty fish. This food works at a deeper level, right where the cells first went deaf to insulin. Chronic systemic inflammation physically warps the receptors on the surface of the cell, making them invisible to the hormone signal. Wild salmon, mackerel, herring, and sardines are some of the richest sources of EPA and DHA, omega-3 fatty acids. These are among the most powerful natural anti-inflammatory compounds known to science. They clear the cell membrane, restore its health, and allow the insulin receptor to respond to the body's signals once again. In our practice, the people we work with who eat fatty fish twice a week consistently show far more stable glucose profiles and a noticeable improvement in overall well-being. How to use it? Aim for 2 servings a week, about the size of your palm each. Bake it or steam it. If you are on a budget, canned fish in its own juice or olive oil, sardines, mackerel, is an excellent choice. It is one of the cheapest and most effective ways to protect your blood vessels. 7. Walnuts. Of all the nuts on the market, this is the one we recommend first to our clients. The reason is its double-action approach. It simultaneously protects the delicate inner lining of your blood vessels, the endothelium, while lowering the workload on your pancreas. High blood sugar literally burns your vessels from the inside, making them brittle. The specific combination of polyunsaturated fats, plant protein, and fiber in walnuts prevents this damage. Furthermore, clinical trials show that regular walnut consumption lowers fasting insulin, the hidden number that tells you how hard your pancreas is straining behind the scenes. Replacing processed crackers or cookies with a handful of walnuts turns a dangerous sugar spike into a flat line. How to use it? A small handful a day, about 7 to 10 whole walnuts, approximately 30 grams. Keep them raw or dry roasted with absolutely no sugar, glazes, or salt. 8. Whole eggs. For decades, old dietary advice made a massive mistake by labeling egg yolks as the enemy due to cholesterol. This bad advice pushed millions of people toward low-fat, high-carbohydrate breakfasts, like sugary cereals and instant oats, which completely wrecked their metabolism. Let's set the record straight once and for all. A whole egg is a near-perfect balance of clean protein and healthy fats, with virtually 0 carbohydrates. On its own, it barely moves your blood sugar at all. But its real magic is what wellness experts call the second meal effect. Starting your day with eggs steadies your blood sugar not just at breakfast, but all the way through to lunch. The protein and fat keep your nervous system satisfied, and mid-morning sugar cravings quietly disappear. How to use it? 2 to 3 whole eggs in the morning is an ideal target. Scramble them, boil them, or make a vegetable omelet with spinach. Put that half avocado right on top, and you have built a near-perfect breakfast for longevity. 9. Apple cider vinegar, ACV. This tool shows the fastest visible effect on a glucose meter of anything on this list. If you have a meter at home, you can test this out for yourself tonight. The active ingredient here is acetic acid. It tackles the problem from 2 sides. It slows down gastric emptying, so carbohydrates enter the blood gradually, and it activates enzymes in your muscles, causing them to pull glucose out of your bloodstream to burn as fuel. Research from Arizona State University found that 1 tablespoon of vinegar before a carb-heavy meal reduced the post-meal sugar spike by 20 to 30%. That is a drug-sized effect from something that costs pennies a bottle. How to use it? Strictly 1 tablespoon diluted in a large glass of warm water, 10 to 15 minutes before your largest meal. Important warning: never drink vinegar straight. The acid can damage tooth enamel and irritate your esophagus. Always drink the mixture through a straw and rinse your mouth with clean water afterward. 10. Lentils. This food proves the entire point of this video. Lentils are a carbohydrate. Yet this carbohydrate lowers your blood sugar. How? Lentils are built from a special type of carb called resistant starch, which is tightly wrapped in a matrix of plant protein and soluble fiber. Your small intestine cannot easily break this down. Lentils digest slowly over hours, traveling to your large intestine where they feed your beneficial gut bacteria. In response, these bacteria produce short-chain fatty acids that directly improve cellular insulin sensitivity. Swapping white rice or mashed potatoes for lentils a few times a week is one of the most reliable ways to bring down an A1C, your 3-month average blood sugar. How to use it. Half a cup to 1 cup of cooked lentils, green, red, or brown, 2 to 3 times a week. Use them in hearty soups, stews, or cold salads tossed with olive oil and a splash of apple cider vinegar. To help you understand how this works in real life, let me share the story of one of the participants in our programs, whose name is Anna. She is 60 years old and recently retired. Anna came to us in a state of deep fear and frustration. Her morning fasting sugar was stuck at 28, and her doctor was pushing hard to add a second heavy prescription medication to her daily routine. Anna was terrified of getting stuck on a lifetime medication ladder because she had watched her own mother go down that exact path, which ultimately led to toe amputations and vision loss. We didn't take away Anna's food or force her to starve. We simply replaced her morning sugary cereals with 3 eggs and a half avocado. We introduced the habit of drinking a glass of water with a tablespoon of vinegar before her main meals. Instead of white rice and potatoes, lentils appeared on her plate. Instead of cookies with tea, she snacked on walnuts. She added affordable baked mackerel twice a week, a touch of Ceylon cinnamon to her morning chicory, and a handful of fresh broccoli sprouts to her lunch salad. Within the very first week, her morning fasting numbers began to drift down. Within 3 months, working closely alongside her own doctor, Anna completely stepped off that second medication. Her A1C moved out of the diabetic range and returned to a healthy baseline. It has been 2 full years now, and her numbers have held perfectly. She didn't starve herself, she just ate more of the right functional foods, and her body did the rest. Why does this system work where basic low-carb diets often fail? Because every one of these foods hands your insulin its job back. The fiber in fenugreek and lentils keeps your pancreas from panicking. The healthy fats in fish, chia, and walnuts clear the inflammatory blockages from your cells. The cinnamon and vinegar walk right up to the receptors and help them grip again. Day after day, a door that used to be slammed shut begins to open on the very first knock. Critical safety warning. Because these foods are highly effective, they will lower your blood sugar. If you are currently taking insulin or older blood sugar pills, like sulfonylureas, your standard medication dose may suddenly become too high, which can cause an unsafe drop into low blood sugar, hypoglycemia. Do not stop or alter any prescriptions on your own. Introduce these foods gradually, monitor your levels closely with your glucose meter, and bring this list to your doctor at your next appointment so they can safely walk your medication doses down as your metabolic health improves. Here is your 5-step action plan to start tonight. Tomorrow morning, stop eating toast or cereal. Make an omelet with 2-3 whole eggs and half an avocado. This single change fixes your metabolic tone for the whole day. Tonight, soak a teaspoon of fenugreek seeds in a glass of water so it is ready for you to drink first thing in the morning. At the store, buy authentic Ceylon cinnamon and start adding a 1/4 teaspoon a day to your morning oatmeal or coffee. Before lunch, 15 minutes before your main meal, drink a large glass of water with 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar through a straw. This week, swap out white rice or potatoes for lentils at least twice and put wild fatty fish on your dinner menu 2 nights. Stack these habits in over the next 2 weeks. You are not removing the foods you love, you are simply adding the foods that protect your longevity. Now, many of you are likely asking, if I am following all the rules, why is my highest blood sugar reading of the entire day first thing in the morning, before I have even had a single bite of food? There is a precise biological reason why your liver secretly dumps glucose into your blood while you sleep. I have broken down exactly why this overnight factory turns on and how to naturally shut it down in our next video. It is on your screen right now. Click it, head over to watch, and I will see you there. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.